Cruises can be tough, I'll say. I've done 8 myself, and they can be a little tough. But it's what we do, it's what we signed up to do. We serve the nation, and while the day of deployment can be a rough one for everybody, the day when you return, having successfully completed service to our nation, done the job you signed up to do, I think everybody is very proud. It's a day you'll remember for the rest of your lives out there. So the goal tonight is to give you some thoughts, some ideas, some things that if you accomplish those here before you go, you'll set yourself and your family up for success while you're gone. It is important that our sailors deploy knowing their families are well taken care of back here, so they're not distracted at sea. They know you're doing fine back here and they can do the job they've signed on to do. So please ask your questions, pay attention tonight. We're here to help you get set up to successfully deploy with us here in the near future. Again, welcome aboard to all of you. Please enjoy the food and beverages that the supply officer has put out for us tonight. We didn't quite anticipate this many. It's great to see so many. Again, welcome aboard, and I'm going to turn it back over to CNC.
Thank you very much, Captain. There's one rule tonight. No question. If you have a question, just ask. This mic will float around. Ask your question so everyone can hear. Don't be shy about your question, okay? So up first, we have the Fleet and Family Support Center.
All right, so my name is Kendra. I'm down here from Fleet Family Support Center. A little bit of background about myself. I've been a Fleet Family Support Center employee for about 3 years, primarily in the Deployment Readiness Department. But beyond that, where my experience really comes from is being a Navy spouse. So I've been a Navy spouse for almost 14 years. My husband is not on a Navy ship like this. He's on one of our lovely little service ships, and he's done 6 deployments over his 10 years at sea. So, that's where I got better. So we're going to go through my PowerPoint. As Steve said, if you have questions, if I'm not talking loud enough, if something, anything you have, want to say, go ahead. I'm more than happy to talk about it. So, can I have my next slide? Okay, my next one. Thank you. All right. So, how the plan is what we're going to talk about first. It's very important to have a plan and think about certain things. So, we're going to talk about that. We have some checklists over on our table, and then we can already document them. But they're just general things that we want you to think about before you leave. So, one of the big things that we'll talk about, and it's going to be talked about tonight, is making sure your family has correct information, and we'll go in more later. Storage. How many of you guys are thinking about storing your personal items or your car? Okay, quite a few. Have you already looked into it? Because if you haven't, I strongly encourage you to reach out to MWR and already start doing that. There's a reason. Our MWR storage is some of the cheapest around, but it also fills up very quickly. So I want you to keep that in mind as you go forward. So call them. If you need their number, please let us know. We're more than happy to tell you where to find it. We're provided and set up by ourselves. ID cards. What's one thing a military spouse cannot do without the sale or the sale? An ID card, right? Because that's what I'm talking about. Any of you walk into the ID card lab and try to get an ID without their spouse or their sailor? Anyone? I've done that twice. I know, I was trying the first time, right? No, I thought the second time I was smarter. I had a power of attorney. I had all the paperwork. And they wouldn't take general power of attorney. And they'll talk about that tonight. And they wouldn't take my paperwork because of the photo copy. So, long story short, I didn't have to bring up this down. So please make sure if your ID card is expiring during the deployment, go and get it done before. There's a few things that you lose if you no longer have an ID card. That, of course, is medical benefits. You still have them, but you no longer have an ID card to prove that you have them. So please make sure that you have a plan should you lose it, or it expires while it's on, or you yourself are military member and have to replace it. And then important documents. What am I talking about? Important documents. What type of talked about repeatedly, and it's going to be talked about repeatedly for a very good reason, because it's super important. So OPSEC, you guys have NCIS here. I'm not going to steal her thunder, I'm not going to steal her brief. So just keep in mind, someone's going to talk about that. So what is River City? Anyone? I think I heard it. Communications go down, right? So they're taken down. Keep in mind, River City is not a place. I actually had a coworker who had been a Navy spouse for 15 years. Her husband was an IT, and she did not realize that River City was a communications issue, like that they had gone down. She didn't know that. So there's things that family members don't know, and that's okay. Remember, if someone says they're in River City, it doesn't mean a port. It means that the communications are set at a certain standard, and your sailor is receiving your emails, but they aren't able to email you. So don't start that email fight. Don't do it. We all know. You haven't emailed me in 3 days. Why not? There's a reason. All right, so care packages, make sure you get the complete mailing address. I've actually had at least 2 family members that I've dealt with over the past 10 years that have asked me if they needed to include their sailor's name on the box. My answer is always yes, so please do. But please make sure you're getting the complete address. That's the postal code plus the 4. So that lovely, whatever, 5-digit code plus the 4 numbers at the end. That's very important. It won't get to them without that. So that complete mailing address, including whatever specific information you need. So is there more than one Petty Officer Smith on board? Maybe. So make sure the department, the division, whatever, I'm sure someone else is going to talk about it. So keep that in mind. If you're mad, if you're concerned, and you know your email sounds a little, maybe you shouldn't send it, don't send it. Sit on it for 24 hours. Don't start an argument over email. It's not a fun way to do it. It's a difficult time already, and to add stress because you're upset maybe that they haven't emailed you in a week, doesn't help. So sit on it, type it up, put it in your drafts, think about it. And then if you're still feeling that you need to send it the next day, then send it. But at least sit on it for a little while. We always encourage you to send mail. We definitely encourage you to send pictures. Just be careful. Don't overwhelm the ship with pictures. But we do want you to send pictures, both of you. So if you're able to, as a member on board the ship, send home pictures of your port, of you doing stuff, make sure you do. They want to see it too. All right, so bad news. That's the big one. No one wants to get bad news. And I can definitely assure you, no one wants to get bad news over email. So please make sure to utilize the resources that are going to be talked about tonight in order to deliver any type of bad news that you need to. Make sure you give that information. I dealt with a spouse earlier today, actually it was a sister, who called me because she couldn't find her brother. She couldn't find him, and their brother had passed away. So she called me. We went through that whole, like, what's his email address? What does his Facebook say? We were able to find the name of the ship and get her in contact, but it doesn't happen that way. So keep that in mind. Make sure all that information is there. All right, and your command ombudsman, you have 5. Am I right? 5? They're here tonight. You're going to hear from them as well. They're an important contact plan for you as well. Go ahead. All right, so parents. I'm not talking about your parents, although those are important too. Those of you that are parents, keep in mind your children, regardless of age, are going to miss you, and they're going to be stressed. So have a plan. Send them emails just to them. Send them mail. Include them. And to make sure as a spouse here at home or whoever is the caregiver that you keep the same rules, the same routine. Just because dad or mom isn't home doesn't mean that they get to stay up until midnight if that's outside of their normal routine. So keep that in mind. Make sure you talk to their school. When they go back to school, talk to their teacher. Let them know. So if something a little different is happening at school, you already have the heads up and you can talk to them and figure out a new plan. Find a mentor. It's huge. The Big Brother and Sister Foundation that we have here, well, it's everywhere. They have a military child mentoring program as well. So they'll pair them up with a military member in order to help them. Utilize something like that. Talk to the people sitting next to you. Sometimes that's your best resource. Go ahead. All right, so I'm almost done with my PowerPoint. That's what that means. It's a good thing, right? All right, so we want you guys to have a plan. Think about the things that are talked about tonight. If it gets to be too much for you, if you aren't sure where to start, you have tons of resources. You have your ombudsman, you have Fleet and Family, you have the Red Cross, you have United Front, you have all of us to ask questions of, not just today, but we're happy to answer your questions at any time. So keep that in mind. If something comes up, pick up that phone and ask that question. Reach out to somebody. You're not by yourself. Because how many people on board this ship? A lot. So you have plenty of people in the same situation. And keep in mind, this isn't the only ship deploying. You have ships deploying with you. We have 3 ships deploying Friday. There's a lot of family members and a lot of people in our community that are going through this as well. So reach out and ask the question, but always be prepared. All right, go ahead. My last one is our lovely locations, which we don't need to see. So if you guys have questions, if you want to know where our locations are, we have plenty of resources on our table, and please stop by. Thank you.
Our Fleet and Family Support Centers, and they're located at table number 2 on your left. So please do visit them. If you're still looking for a seat, I have some on my left, and there's plenty on my right. Okay, up next I'm going to introduce to you someone that's going to be very important to all of you. So take out your pen and take this information down. I'm going to introduce you to 5 ladies. They're all over Facebook, they're on the internet. All you have to Google is Carl Vinson, and you will see their smiling faces. So you heard Fleet and Family Support Center talk about the ombudsmen. Well, here they come. They'll tell you what they do. They represent Carl Vinson when we're gone. Miss Tara, Halva, Kimberly, Val, and Cammie. I'll do it one more time. Miss Tara, Halva, Kim, Valerie, and Cammie.
Hi everyone, we are your Command Ombudsman. We are just right over there. I just want to talk to you guys real quick about the newsletter. We send it out once a month. It has a lot of really good resources in it and releasable information that pertains to the ship. By releasable information, we mean things that the command has told us, you can put this out. We cannot release port calls or dates. That is not something that we're able to do through social media or through our newsletter until we're within that 24-hour window. You'll get that information directly from your sailor or from somebody else that you know that has already gotten that information in person. So as always, OPSEC is a really good thing to abide by. So there's this little sheet that we have over at our table. It's also in the folders that we've been handing out. Your sailor can fill this out tonight and bring it over to us. Sailors, you can add as many people as you want to our newsletter distribution list. If they are important to you, they are very important to us. We send it out once a month, but this does have to be filled out either tonight and turned into us, or you can send us the information that's on this sheet from your CBN 70 email account. It cannot come from Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail. It has to come from your ship's email account. Again, you can sign up as many people as you want, mom, dad, brother, sister, aunts, uncles, grandparents, girlfriends, boyfriends, whoever you want. We don't care how many people you sign up, we will add them to our list. If they are important to you, they are important to us. It's a really good thing to have, especially while you guys are deployed. So I'm going to pass the mic on to Kim now. Excellent. Also in your packets, you will have found a magnet. On this magnet, we have our website where you can find us, you can find all of our information. We also have Facebook page. On there, you are more than welcome to message us, and we will get back to you there. On that one, we update that once a day, several times a day. It's a wonderful tool for you to use as well as your family members who are on Facebook.
So now that you know how to reach us, does everybody know what an ombudsman is or what an ombudsman does? So an ombudsman is a volunteer that's appointed by the commanding officer, and we serve as liaisons between the families and the command. Any issues that may arise, any questions that you have about the command, about Navy life, about PCSing, about deployment, give us a call and we'll do our best to help you. We all have cell phones, we all have email addresses, and as mentioned, we have our Facebook page and our website, so there's no shortage of ways to get in touch with us. One of the great things that sets us apart from other programs is we're 100% confidential. Any questions that you bring to us, any concerns, anything at all, completely stays with us. So you can rest assured that anything that you feel is sensitive or even not sensitive, it never goes beyond our team. So thank you very much, CMC. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, once again, let me make sure you know the faces. It's Tara, wave high. You get to walk around in front so they can see you. Go ahead. That's Halva. I want to show you off to the crew. There's Kimberly. Wave as you go. Valerie.
I know I'm last. Thank you.
And Cammie. Remember this, folks. Whatever you discuss with them is between you and them, and then it gets passed to the command. I need you to take out your pens at this time and write this number down. 877 829 3016. That is 877-829-3016. That is the number to our care line. Guess what? You will hear the voice of one of these ladies on our care line telling you, hello, Carl Vinson families. They're doing great out at sea. They're expected to be in Hong Kong tomorrow. Call the number if you need to know what's going on. Thank you, listeners. Yes, table number 4. Did you get the number? 877-829-3016. I hope you got it. Okay, here we go. Moving right along. Up next, we have Navy Legal. And you may have some legal questions or concerns. Don't be shy. We have a JAG here. Welcome aboard, and I'll give you this mic so you can do your stuff.
See if I can manage to handle this. Can anybody, oh, there we go. Is this good? I'm gonna take that polite nodding from some of you as a yes. As mentioned before, I'm Lieutenant Biolo. I'm a legal assistance attorney. There's 2 of us on the base at NASNY, and we are separate from the legal department on the ship. A lot of what I'm gonna talk about, the ship can assist you with, but we're just the dedicated force on NASNY itself, and we invite you to come on by. We're over by the crew pool. And so if we can go to the next slide real quick, I'll talk to you about what we offer. We assist with civil issues. Civil is contrasted against crime. So if you've done a crime, I am going to shut my door to you and just call the cops. But if you have a civil issue, so if that's family law, immigration, powers of attorney, wills, anything like that, or if you just have a question about your legal rights, come on by and see us. We cannot represent you out in court. That's our big limitation. A lot of people want to get us, well, nobody wants me, but somebody wants my compatriots to represent them out in town. I can't do that. I can tell you about how great I would be, but we'll talk to you about what exactly your rights are and help you find and navigate the area. And if we can help you at a lower level, we're happy to make phone calls, we're happy to send angry letters, all those things. We just can't represent you or make any motions out in town. So next slide, please. Okay, So attorneys are by appointment only, and that's mostly to save your frustration. It's a pain to come in with a legal issue and come in at 8 a.m. and just sit there all day and see somebody at 1600. So you can give us a call at NASNY. Our number is 545-6437. That's again 545-6437. 32nd Street is also an available option. We request that you come to us because it's how I stay employed. But if you want to go to 32nd Street, their number is 556-2211. And you may have to leave a voicemail. If that happens, leave a number and your name, and we'll call you back and we'll get you locked in. But those are the two areas. On NASNY, we're over by the crew pool. If you're going to 32nd Street, you just make a hard right at the main entrance, and it dead ends at building 56. And again, if you get lost, call those two numbers and they'll guide you in. Next slide. Okay, we'll talk about some of these things more in depth. And one of the main things that people ask us about in preparation for deployments is wills or estate planning. Wills are a free service, both for you or for your dependent. They can come on in and get one drafted. There's a will visit next week for the Carl Vinson for some of you folks. If you're not on that will visit, you can make an independent appointment with us. But how do you know if you need a will? There's already rules in place if you die without a will. I don't have a will, true story. It's not just like I'm a stand-up comedian and I'm making this up now as part of my bit. I don't have a will. And why is that? Because as a California resident, the state laws are fine. In California, if you die without a will, if you have a spouse, it goes to your spouse. If you don't have a spouse but you have kids, all your stuff goes to your kids. And I don't have a spouse. There's no kids that I'm aware of. So everything is going to go to my parents. People laugh, but like I wonder. But everything goes to my parents, and that's fine. I even leave my apartment a mess when I go on deployment, because it's like one more I gotcha at mom and dad. Like, ha ha ha, if I die, you have to come back, clean up all my stuff, and give it to my sisters. And that's fine. I don't have a will. So why do you need a will? If you want to give stuff to somebody under the age of 18, you need a will. You just can't give a bunch of money to an infant. They don't know what money is. You can give a bunch of money to a 14-year-old and it'll be gone by tomorrow. So the court doesn't let that happen. So if you're giving stuff to a child, anybody under the age of 18, you need a will, or you want a will. Or if you don't like the rules I just said, if you don't want everything to go to your spouse, if not your spouse, to your kids, and keep in mind, states have different rules. This is just a California example. You can just look up your state, or if you want to talk to us about it, you can. But if you don't like those rules, if you want things to go to your siblings before your parents, if you want things to go to your friends instead of your family, you need a will. Those are the reasons to get a will. Can I get the next slide? Okay, there's some other documents which are totally invisible, but as part of the will, you can also get some documents that help you if you're not dead, but you're kind of close. It's a really morbid topic, but there's this idea that, if there's an accident out in town, if you can't make decisions for you for the hospital or handle your finances, we can draft those documents for you ahead of time. It's all part of the same process, all part of the same, about an hour, hour and a half for us to talk and draft the documents. But there's some other things that we do as well. The big one in there is the living will. That's a very serious conversation. I'm lighthearted for this, but when you come behind closed doors, we'll have a frank discussion about the facts and what the benefits are and what the costs are, and we'll get what you need done. So we welcome you. As deployers, you have priority. If you need to get this done before you leave, I will seriously kick out people who already have appointments to make room for you. You're what I want to get done. Next slide. Okay, what to do with your documents. You've heard like 3 times. So the big thing that I'm going to mention is don't make any marks on your legal documents. If you have a will, if you have a power of attorney, and you just want to change a little bit of it, that can invalidate the entire document. And now you have nothing. Now you can make a paper airplane with that. That's about it. So if you want to make changes to your documents, right now, just get new documents. Come on by. Like seriously, powers of attorney are on a walk-in basis. No appointment necessary, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., 13 to 1500. You can come in, get a whole bunch at once. You can come in on a rolling basis. Whatever makes you feel better, you can get done. But don't make marks to your documents because those documents may not be accepted. And broadly speaking, there is no requirement to accept a power of attorney. Just be aware of that. So if you go out in town and you say, I have a general power of attorney, I want to get his car or her car smogged, they can say that's cool, go away. They probably won't because they want your money, but just be aware of that. So what do I recommend? If you're getting a power of attorney and you know who you're going to be interacting with, if you know who your landlord is, which banks you want your agent to be handling, the DMV, ask them if they have their own form. because they're going to take their form. That's why they have it. It's like the entire point. If it needs to be notarized, we'll notarize that for you. It's part of what we offer. So the big thing there is to think ahead, get the powers of attorney, but if you can grease the skids a little bit more, you might want to make some phone calls as well. Next slide. Life insurance. I can help you do your life insurance if you're giving stuff to kids. If you're not giving anything to that person under the age of 18, whatever you do with admin is totally legit. I don't do it any better. I just can do it as well. Next. Power of attorneys we talked about, there's two categories. There's the general and the special. And they're kind of like court martials, where like general can do the most amount of damage to you, and special can do some harm, but it's limited. So the general power of attorney is what everybody wants, and it's the one that DC doesn't want you to get, because it lets somebody do everything in your name. It includes taking out a bunch of leases and breaking them. It includes taking out loans and not paying them. It includes taking out credit cards and letting them go into default. That happens. And for that reason, they tend not to be wanted by DC. My recommendation is that a lot of places out in town don't like general powers of attorney anymore, because enough people like me make phone calls and say, hey, so the sailor's back from deployment and the spouse should not have sold the car or the dog, so can we get both of those back? And they just say, we're not going to deal with general power of attorneys anymore. If you're really supposed to sell the car, show me the special power of attorney that says, sell my car. Show me in writing that you're supposed to have that power. So a special power of attorney is a power of attorney for a specific act, to handle your finances, to maintain your property, to take care of your vehicle. These are all special powers of attorney. And you can get as many of them as you want. But the idea there is that because they're more limited in function, they're more limited in the damage they can do if somebody goes amok with them. Next slide. ID theft. ID theft is a major crime. I'm not going to, you see the slides and you hear like the commercials about it. But a compatriot of Lieutenant Drew and I's went on deployment, and in one port visit, 40 people had their identity stolen. It was in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and when they came back, it took a while for them to realize what had happened. So ID theft happens. And with that, people take out loans in your name, they don't pay them. That reflects on your credit score, which reflects on your security clearance. You can come in, we can try and do some of the damage, but it's pretty tough. One of the things we recommend is getting what's called an active duty alert placed on there. If you're a service member, you can go to, I don't think you can see that, but it says www.annualcreditreport.com, ANNUALCREDITREPORT.com. I could do it in the NATO alphabet, but it would just take like 30 minutes. So annualcreditreport.com, you can go on there, fill it out. What the active duty alert says, I'm in the military. And if anybody wants to open up any new lines of credit, make sure it's me by having them put forth a lot more documentation. I did it for myself, and I will admit it works, because anytime I want to do anything, I have to like show them 3 forms of ID. But it's to your advantage to do that. If you are the victim of ID theft, 1, talk to legal assistance, and 2, talk to the credit bureaus, put a cancel on as many things as possible, but it's a long road to recovery, and it takes a lot of effort. So really the idea is try to get ahead of it by putting the alerts on ahead of time, and try to manage and watch your finances as much as possible. Next slide. Vehicle storage. Just because your car is not going to be driven doesn't mean you should take insurance off. Bad things happen to cars even when you're not around. In fact, I would say bad things happen to cars more often when you're not around. So don't turn off the insurance. Next slide. Okay, taking care of your property. This goes again with the idea of having renter's insurance and having an agent who can make repairs for you. So if you have a friend who's checking on your apartment, but they don't have a power of attorney to get repairs done, they can call you and say, by the way, there's a leak in your ceiling and it looks like it's doing a lot of damage to your stuff. But they can't really authorize any repair work to be done. So those go hand in hand. If you have somebody who's taking care of yourself, make sure they actually have the authority, not just your permission. So the authority comes from the documentation. Next slide. Tax filing. Taxes are due next year, but there are some benefits to having been out of the area for a while. This is mostly if you're, taxes are due in April. So it's a ways away, but in addition to the combat bonus, if you're in a combat zone, you get an automatic 6 months extension to your taxes. Really the idea is do your taxes, if you can, by April 15th. If you didn't do it, you might be able to get an extension, but an extension just means that there's no penalties. The juice is running. There's still interest accruing on whatever you didn't pay. So it's still in your best interest to pay. Next slide. That's the IRS logo. Next slide. Okay, the SCRA. This one's kind of cool. I don't know if, as far as laws are cool, like this one's kind of cool. So the idea is that this law, the Service Members Civil Relief Act, the SCRA, has a bunch of protections for you. We're going to talk about some of the more common ones. We can talk about the next slide first. Landlord-tenant. Landlord-tenant, on top of like one other topic, is like the most common thing I see with folks. So what does the SCRA let you do? If you are being deployed for greater than 90 days, you can break your lease under this law. What do you have to do? You have to give them a letter, a written notice that says, I'm breaking my lease because I'm going underway, I'm being deployed. And 2, you have to give them a copy of your orders. Now, as sailors, our orders just say a ship. It doesn't say that you're deployed. So you probably have to get a letter from the command that says, yes, he's going to be gone or she's going to be gone for more than 90 days. What happens then? You owe the next month's rent, and you owe 30 days after, if there is rent due. And after that, you're done. So you may owe 1 to 2 more months of rent, but you get to break your lease without any other penalty. That's the main benefit with landlord-tenant. Keep in mind, when you do that, your landlord's gonna be less inclined to give you the full security deposit back. And security deposits are one of the big arguments that we have. So if you have issues with your lease, or if you have issues with your security deposit, we recommend you come by and talk to us, and we can help you. We can make phone calls, send angry letters, and try to address things as best as we can for you. Next slide. This is talking about what to do if you're moving out. You should schedule a walkthrough, do the inspections. The big thing to keep in mind is that the landlord is supposed to give you either your full deposit back after 21 days, or whatever of your deposit is left, and an itemized deduction of what they charged you for. If you don't get that, they're breaking the rules. We can go there and talk about it. Just as a service announcement, if your security deposit was like $300 or $400, I'm going to assume that your landlord's just gonna keep it. Because the reason why it's so low is they don't think you're gonna fight for it. So just keep that in mind. And that's more of a reason to try and get ahead of the game and follow that information. Now, if you get it back, you get it back. That's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I would love that if it happened all the time. Just doesn't happen that often. Next slide. Cell phones. You can temporarily stop your contract. So if you're gone for 10 months, you don't have to pay for your cell phone contract, but it doesn't keep going by. So the idea is if you have 8 months left on your contract, you can't use the SRA to like end that, come back and get a new phone. Some places will still let you do it, but more than anything, what you're allowed to do is stop service without accruing any penalties. Next slide. Vehicles. Vehicles are way easier, but there's a longer duration. If you're gone for over 180 days, when we talked about breaking your residential lease, that was 90 days. For your car, it's over 180 days. But if you're leasing a car, you do the exact same thing we talked about before. Written notice and a copy of your orders. And then within 15 days, you turn the vehicle over to the dealership and you're done. That's it. No more payments, you're out of it. It's great. If you need help with that, come by, let us know. Next slide. This one is kind of like spookier. The idea here is that if you're out in the middle of the ocean and somebody sues you, it's not fair because you can't go back to court and represent yourself. So there's 2 options. The main protection here is that there's a stay. And a stay just means timeout. It's a minimum of 90 days, and there's different attorneys that are assigned to it. And essentially we say, you know, so-and-so, Lieutenant Biolo can't show up because he's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. We request time until he comes back. It doesn't make you judgment-proof. It doesn't mean like you can just go out tomorrow, like slam your car down the road and be like, nobody can sue me. You can get sued, it's gonna happen later. So this just gives you a timeout. The other thing that happens if the court wasn't aware or somebody lied and said, Lieutenant Biolo, I don't know why they would write this, but Lieutenant Biolo is not in the military, despite it's just a weird, funny first name. We call him Lieutenant. The idea there is they say, okay, and they enter a judgment against me and I wasn't there to defend myself, we can get that vacated and undone. So those are the 2 main protections. If you're not around, we can put a timeout in the proceeding, and if something did happen, a judgment was levied, we can get that vacated. This is purely civil. So this is like, I have a tree in my backyard and it fell over and damaged my neighbor's property. It's not for criminal things. Again, this whole idea is if you got an issue with the state of California, that's between you and the state of California, and I wish you the best of luck. Next slide. There's additional benefits, which I can't read. You can also stay evictions, which is kind of nice, but the issue that happens with staying evictions, I think this is where people get confused. I talked about breaking your lease. If you have bills over deployment, you should definitely pay your bills. Like, there's no question about that. People come, and I kind of laugh, but not really. People come and say, I didn't pay my bills for the last 6 months and now I'm being evicted. You owe that money. Now, they can't evict you while you're away. That's the protection. You can't come back and find out that they took everything out and your stuff was sold. But there can still be a process. So if you want to break your leases, go through the process that we talked about. Send a written notice and a copy of your orders. If you have questions about that, make an appointment. But definitely pay your bills. But the idea here is if you can't get evicted, if you can't have your car sold For instance, there can't be these enforcement of liens while you're away, because that stuff is permanent. That damage, you're not going to get that car back. So those are your protections. Next slide. Family support. Already talked about that before. You've heard that many times. But the big thing is to keep in mind, if you're a dependent with a military ID, you can come in and see us just as much as the active duty service member, as long as there's no conflict of interest. So I'll be standing by to answer questions, but I can form attorney-client relationships. It's a great blessing, it's a great burden, because I carry with me the pain and the conflict of every client that's come before me that I've actually had. So if you're opposed, I can't talk to you. That's a big thing to keep in mind. I can answer general questions. I can't answer any factual specific questions. But spouses, dependents, something happens while the service member is out deployed, you can still come by and talk to us about these issues. Next slide. If you're not in the area, this is how to find us. But essentially, just Google legal assistance, and type in your zip code. But the two nearest ones I'll tell you right now are me, which is like a stone's throw away, and 32nd Street. Next slide. Oh, I think we're done. Please tell me we're done. Do I have any? If there are any questions, I'll be tucked away over here in the khakis. You can ask me broad questions. If anything I said sounds interesting, you want to make an appointment, please do. Other than that, have a great and safe deployment.
So a lot of people don't know what the FRG is. It's basically we're the fun group to bring the families together. We don't really have like a definition of what family is. It could be boyfriends, girlfriends, dads, mothers, whatever. But your sailors are only as strong as you are, so if we unify while they're gone, then we can be strong for them and hopefully have fun and make the deployment fly a little faster. We don't have any information. We won't give you information that's from the Ombudsman. So just follow us on Facebook. We have an event coming up at the end of August, and it'll be a potluck, and we'll get to know each other. And that's pretty much it. That's all.
Who are you? Please introduce
We're the
yourself.
FRG. I'm Katie DeMayo. I'm the president. That's Becky Hull. She's the treasurer. Megan Rund is the secretary. And Brian, he's our vice president. So, yeah.
Tell us more about yourself.
We're working on our website right now. Most of our information is on Facebook, but we'll be updating our website as it comes. We'll be doing monthly meetings the first Saturday of the month. So if you look out for it, we'll tell you when and where. Other than that, we'll just be doing we don't plan on doing a halfway day. We're hoping to do 2 events because the deployment's really, really long. So we'll look for inputs at our meetings. And yeah, I'm horrible at public speaking in case you can't tell. Oh, if you want to look for our information, we have pages over there that have our website and our Facebook page. But if you don't want one of the papers, then our Facebook page is Vinson FRG, all one word. And on there we have our gear for sale and all of our information about our events and stuff. So.
Folks, our family readiness group. Thank you. Up next, we have Mrs. Robinson, and she comes to us from the TRICARE sector of San Diego. So, Ms. Robinson, and I'm going to be easy. She's going to give you a direction. It's over on the dry side where the big commissary is at. You look up on the hill. It's in one of those older buildings. Just drive up there and keep asking, where's TRICARE? I'm here to help you, so I hope you got better direction. You want me to lower it?
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, short presenter. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for letting us come talk to you. My name is Shenawa Robinson, and I work for United Healthcare Military and Veterans, which is one of the TRICARE contractors. We're the contractor for the West region. I wanted to make a couple of other quick introductions. At our TRICARE table, which is on the right, I have a colleague, Wendy Pritt, who's also here answering questions as we speak, and also Mr. Jeff Apana. Jeff, if you can wave at everyone. Jeff came out just to see all of you this evening. He is the department head for patient relations at Naval Medical Center San Diego. So if you have ever had any questions, any issues with services available at any of our military clinics, or you wonder what's available, Jeff wanted me to convey how much our command at Balboa appreciates all of you, everything you do, and he's here to answer any questions that you have. So with that, let's roll. One thing that it's important to keep in mind with TRICARE is the breakdown of our TRICARE regions. There are different contractors or healthcare companies that manage TRICARE depending on the location, and we are in the West. I would like for everybody, if you get a chance, to please come pick up a card that you can keep in your wallet that has all of the TRICARE phone numbers, also dental and pharmacy, which we'll talk about as well. But depending on your location, you might work with different companies that assist with your TRICARE. Everything with TRICARE starts with DEERS. So I'm sure all of you are very familiar with DEERS, but we're talking about the system inside of the PSD office. So especially before deployment, you want to make sure all of your eligible family members are in DEERS so that they have access to their TRICARE benefits. We also have this contact information that you can come pick up. For any of you that may be having any new little ones arriving during the deployment, you want to make sure to get one of those powers of attorney that Lee will talk to you about to make sure that they can add the new baby to DEERS and then do the TRICARE enrollment after that. So you'll notice at the bottom, of course, you need to update DEERS with any status change, marriage, new baby, etc. Make sure to let DEERS know so that you can have access to all of your medical benefits. And there are different options. So a big part of the reason that we're here is we want to assist, especially our family members, our spouses, with understanding that you have some choices when it comes to your health care. For our spouses, there are two different programs our family members can choose between Prime and Standard. Prime is the one that's free for active duty family members, but you have to actually enroll for that one. Again, if you have any questions about what's available in San Diego, we can talk to you about that. You can enroll now by calling the contractor, so we will definitely be happy to answer any questions you have. Next slide. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the big thing to keep in mind with Prime is it's what we call managed care. So that just means that there's some rules that you want to keep in mind. We have some really good handouts that talk about this, whether you're going to be traveling or possibly moving. If you're traveling, you want to make sure that you contact your doctor back home. TRICARE calls that your PCM, to coordinate care for you when you're out of area. Of course, if it's an emergency, you're going to go to the closest ER and then call your doctor after that. If you're going to be actually moving during the deployment, you want to think about transferring your enrollment so you have access to all of your basic health care wherever you'll be going. And again, we'll be happy to answer any questions for you about that or what might be available if you're thinking of going to a particular area. And then the other option is what we call the basic entitlement. So when a family member gets that brand new ID card, they have a program called TRICARE Standard. This one allows more direction toward the civilian healthcare providers, but you actually pay out of pocket for this one. And we do have some information about that that gives you all the costs. There's also different options for pharmacies, so hopefully everyone's aware if you're close to a base like we here in San Diego, you can take your prescription to a base, even from a civilian healthcare provider, and they'll fill that for you at no cost. There's also a great option for home delivery where our pharmacy contractor called Express Scripts will actually send those prescriptions that you take every month. They call those maintenance medicines right in the mail to your house. And then the last option is what we call retail network, meaning going to a community pharmacy out in town. You just want to be careful to make sure that the pharmacy you choose is in the TRICARE network. One helpful tip is to keep in mind whether it's a healthcare provider, a pharmacy, a dentist, anyone who has a contractor is in the network is always going to be a less expensive cost to you. So when you go out of network, for example, for pharmacy, and instead of paying a $5 or $17 copay, you end up paying 50% of the bill. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is, if you're not sure if a pharmacy chain takes TRICARE, you can check with Express Scripts. Most big chain pharmacies do currently, with the exception of Walgreens right now. Another part of our benefit is what we call behavioral health or mental health. So for our family members, they can actually refer to a provider as long as they're part of our network, meaning they have a contract. And there's also a variety, a lot of services for TRICARE that are available to support our families. We have case managers for families who have complex medical issues. There's also going to be a lot of communications coming out. We have changes to some programs for children with autism. There's a new program coming out called the Comprehensive Autism Care Demonstration. So to keep up with all of that stuff, a good site to visit periodically is tricare.mil, where you can get any breaking policy updates. And there is also a cap on what you pay out of pocket. So we don't want our family members paying too much out of pocket for medical services. So the most that you pay for your TRICARE covered services is $1,000 per year for our active duty families. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of comfort to know that you won't be potentially paying lots and lots for your medical coverage. And then finally, a big thing that comes up quite often is please don't forget that dental requires a totally separate enrollment. It's not automatic. So in the middle, the TRICARE dental program for our family members is through a company called MedLife. We brought lots of brochures on that. So if the sponsor calls, you can actually enroll over the phone is the most convenient way. So you definitely want to make sure your family's enrolled for dental coverage before the deployment because it's a totally separate enrollment from your TRICARE enrollment. And then each contractor has a website. So for United Healthcare, this is what ours looks like. You can go online and create an account so you can see your claims, referrals, and we have a handout to walk you through creating your own account online. And then, as I mentioned, tricare.mil has a site as well where you can find a ton of TRICARE information. They just launched a new feature called I Want To, where you can go on there and indicate what you're trying to do, and it will link you to the appropriate site. And then, as we mentioned, of course, we've talked about lots of different companies and contractors, right? We have TRICARE Medical, dental, pharmacy. So please don't forget that we have lots of information for you. And CMC was mentioning the TRICARE service centers. Those actually did close on March 31st stateside to walk-in service. I hear that we have lots of people still coming to 32nd Street looking for us over there. So I want to let you know that most things are going to be either over the phone or online. If you do need information, education on healthcare benefits, we do have at Naval Medical Center what are called health benefits advisors in Building 2 that can help with benefit information. Keep in mind though, certain things like enrollments and those types of things still have to be handled by the contractor. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of that as well. And that is it for me. Thank you all again so much for everything you do. We really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you later.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Any questions for Ms. Robinson? Okay, well, your well-being is very important to all of us, and that's why we bring our tri-care force. Additionally, I'm going to introduce you to our ship site. Dr. Lewis is going to come up here and share with you some other concerns as well.
How you guys doing? Still hanging on out there? Lieutenant Commander David Loomis. I'm the psychologist here on the ship. A little bit of trivia. Aircraft carriers are the only ships in the Navy that have dedicated mental health assets. Some of the other ships are asking for them, but it hasn't become a permanent thing yet. I want to talk to you a little bit about something you're already experiencing, which is the stress of preparing for and going through deployment. I was surprised by the number of hands that went up for the first-time deployers or family members of first-time deployers. So this will definitely be pertinent for you. And what I want to talk about is what the Deployment Health and Family Readiness Group are calling the emotional cycles of deployment. And they've set up 7 stages. I'm going to talk about the first 4. The first one begins with pre-deployment, and they call it the anticipation of departure. During this time, we've been doing the workups, doing trainings, we've had times away. It's getting used to the idea of some of the anticipation. There can be a little bit of denial, kind of, it's not coming here yet, or it's, still down the road, I don't want to think about it too much. Or maybe you're thinking about it a lot. A lot of tasks going on. Obviously, the presenters today have been talking about all the different things that you need to be thinking about or doing if you haven't already done so. And so there's a lot of tension building up in relationships about getting things done, trying to figure out all the financial planning, the legal planning, those types of things. You're more likely to be a little more emotional than you typically are. So even if you're an even-keeled person, you're probably going to be a little more edgy, maybe a little more reactive to things. You're also probably going to be arguing more as a couple than you were previously or than you typically do. This is normal, something that most couples go through. One of the reasons for the arguing in some of the more debating discussions is it creates some emotional distance, and it starts to prepare you for separating and letting go of that loved one when they're going to be going forward. One of the things that Fleet and Family, the Kendra of Fleet and Family talked about, spent a lot of time talking about, is communicating. Talking with your family member, your husband, your wife, your significant other, including your children. The more planning, the more talking you can do about expectations, about how you want things to be done, the less tension, the less stress there'll be down the road. Particularly with your children. Those of you who have children, there are some really good resources that we can get passed to you on how to talk to children of various ages. They have different needs. But what you want to talk with them about is what you do in the Navy, what your job's going to be when you're away, how you plan to stay in touch with them in ways that you're going to be able to do that. Particularly for older children, the new roles and responsibilities they might have while you're away, and actually assigning them things to do, making them feel like they're a part of this mission and helping to keep the family together while you're gone. If you haven't done so already, I hope you're making plans to spend some quality time with your family members. This will create some recent memories for them so that while you're away, they have something fun and nice to think about while you're gone. One other thing that you might want to do is, particularly for younger children, but even for your older ones, is exchange sentimental items. That can be something like a t-shirt or a pillow or a hat, but just something, children really like things that are tangible, that are concrete, that they can hold on to. And it's something good for them when they're missing you, when they're sad, that it's your presence that's there with them continually. The second stage we talk about is detachment and withdrawal. And that's as we get closer to actually leaving within a week or two before we get underway. There's even more pulling away and more emotional distance in the relationship is typical. Last minute tasks increase the stress. You're feeling conflicted about making the most of the time you have left, but also not wanting to, still trying to make that separation. The increased tension may decrease some of the physical intimacy, and that may cause some conflict. And one of the tendencies is that people stop sharing their thoughts and feelings. So part of that separating, part of that breaking away. Again, if you're going through that, or if you experience that, understand that it's normal, it's typical, it's what most couples go through when they're starting to go through this. Third stage is emotional disorganization, and this is for the family members that are staying behind. You're going to be taking on new roles and responsibilities, taking care of things that maybe you weren't used to taking care of. You're used to having another person around, even if you were used to taking care of them. And so you're going to start feeling sort of lost, maybe confused, conflicted. Routines are going to be disrupted. It's going to take some time to establish new routines. You may start feeling overwhelmed with your new responsibilities. It's a time where you may be feeling numb without a purpose. This is usually short-lived the first couple of weeks. The quicker you can establish routines, the quicker you can connect with support systems that you hopefully have set up in place or are setting up in place, that transition will be much easier if you're able to do that. Again, with all the planning that we talked about, the more planning, the more things that you and your significant other can take care of before they leave, the easier that transition will be. The fourth stage is recovery and stabilization. So you'll get through the tough time, the disorientation, the feelings of numbness. Eventually you'll realize that, you've got it. You've got this, you've got things under control, you're managing, things are, sort of developing a new normal. New routines have been established, you're feeling more comfortable with your roles. You're also starting to feel more hopeful, more confident in what you're doing, and you're kind of just getting in the groove. And that lasts for the most of deployment. The other stages come in as we're returning from deployment, and I'm going to save those for the return and reunion brief when we get back, or when we're on our way back. Everyone experiences things slightly differently based on your own personalities and your relationships. You may find that you don't experience much of this, or not to a significant degree, or you may find that you have difficulty in each of these. If you're finding that you're having difficulty, there are definitely lots of resources. Fleet Family's already been up here talking. The Ombudsman, Chaplain Disbury is going to be up shortly and is going to expand more on the resources that are available to you. But don't try and go through this alone. Make use of the resources. Use each other as you are getting through this. There's lots of online resources for how to cope with deployment, with being away from family members, and particularly how to deal with kids and help them get through deployments. One website in particular is called Military Kids Connect. I'm going to pass information to the Ombudsman, and they're going to be able to get that out to the families so they have the actual websites. But there are some really good resources out there. So make an effort to reach out to your kids and help them get through this difficult time as they're letting go of mom and dad, loved ones as we go. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. As I look around, I did ask that you fill up the front rows. Since you didn't listen to me, up next is Father Dusenberry. Now, he's not going to have church, but I told you to fill up the front rows. Father?
It's just like church. Everybody's in the back. Hi, I'm Chaplain Dusenberry. I'm one of 4 chaplains that will be on this ship when we deploy, and one of 6 that will be in our strike group when we deploy. My main job and our main job as chaplains is to provide religious ministry for the crew of this ship and for our strike group when we're deployed. I also, for the faith groups that we don't represent individually as chaplains, my job is also to help those faith groups facilitate for their religious needs. So for instance, I don't have any chaplains that are Jewish, but I have Jewish sailors on the ship. And so we have a lay leader who's Jewish that leads Jewish worship, and I help that lay leader get what he needs. So that's my main job that I do, provide and facilitate for religious needs. But we also care for the crew. So for the active duty folks, we are the point of contact, one of your points of contact on the ship, to provide care for you if you're struggling or having difficulties during the deployment. But for the family members, what I want you to know is that there are resources available for you too. And I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, before you leave today, make sure you get around the room. You know, I think, does Comic-Con start today or tomorrow or something? Today? So Comic-Con, the big thing with Comic-Con, has anybody ever been to Comic-Con? Okay, one person. So the big thing with Comic-Con, I heard, is to get a swag bag, and you go around and you collect stuff, and you get things. Well, this isn't quite as good as Comic-Con, but we have things that you should get and take with you. I really encourage you to do that. We have, back in the corner where the chaplains are at, hey, raise your hand, chaplains. So there's the chaplains back there. We have back there a pre-deployment pamphlet that we put together. Very simple, doesn't take up a lot of room. I mean, you can stick it in your pocket. You could get a magnet from the ombudsman, who are over here, and you could actually stick it on your refrigerator. But in this pamphlet, we have the contact information for some of the groups that are around the table. Fleet Family Service Center, we have their contact information in here. The Red Cross, it's in here. The chaplains that are in the local area, their contact numbers are in here. So that if you as family members need something, you don't know where to go. You can pull this pamphlet out, you can contact one of the chaplains locally, you can contact the Chaplain Care website, you can contact Fleet Family. It's all in this pamphlet right here for you. And then the other thing that I wanted to offer you also is I have a pre-deployment checklist, and I gotta be honest with you, I didn't make this up. I've been around for a few years, and when I was with Marines, we gave this to our Marines, and I pulled it out the other day and I changed everything that said Marine to Sailor, and anything that was Marine Corps specific, I got rid of it. And I changed a few little things, but I looked it over, and as I was looking it over, it reminded me there's things that I need to do that I haven't done yet. You know, for instance, is the registration on my car going to expire? Well, actually it is. So I need to do something about that. So I would encourage you to get one of these checklists and just look it over. Take some time to prepare. CMC was here when I arrived on the ship 2 years ago. Captain was here. And I think maybe one other pod was here. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they asked me how long I've been on the ship for, and I told them I've been here 2 years on the ship. And they asked me if we had deployed, and I said, no, not yet. And they said, what have you been doing for 2 years? And I thought about it, and I said, well, we've been getting ready to deploy. And we've done that for the last 2 years. This ship has been getting ready for this deployment for 2 years. And we're not done yet. If you could look through here, you would see in the hangar bays equipment. There's work being done on the flight deck. The preparations for this deployment will take place up till the moment that we leave. And as family members, you need to take a little bit of time to prepare for deployment. You can't wake up on August 21st and do something about it. You need to use some time right now to get yourselves and your families mentally, emotionally, and spiritually ready for this upcoming deployment. That's how we'll be successful for you. So we're back in the corner. I encourage you to come back, talk to us. If you have any questions, we have, you need a Bible. We have some of these digital camouflage Bibles. These were donated. I picked this one up. They have, a lot of times they have notes in it. So here's a note that somebody wrote. Thank you for your service. Love, Jared. I showed it to Father Dwyer. He said, I think Jared had a homework assignment, and you cut it short. But we have these back there if you'd like to get a Bible or talk to Petty Officer Schumacher about United Through Reading. If you have children, it's a great program. So please stop by before you leave. Pick some information up. Ask us questions if you have them. Does anybody have any questions for me right now? No? Okay. Thank you. Thanks again. Look forward to seeing you around.
Thank you, Father. I got good news, Officer. If you're adding to your family and the delivery will be anytime after August, the chaplains send them all that great information. It's a boy, it's a girl, the name, how long, how many pounds, and I promise you, when the ship pulls in, Father Dusenberry will see to it your spouse is on that first group of guys that is running towards you to see the new bundle of joy. I can promise you that. That's Father Dusenberry. Raise your hand again, chaplains. And those guys, that's what they do. So there's still time if you're thinking about it. You know what I'm talking about? You didn't know? Okay. From time to time, stuff happens that is not always great news, okay? So I need everyone to pay attention to our next speaker. As Miss Michelle walks towards the stage from our San Diego American Red Cross chapter, please take notes and pay close attention. Oh, come on up, Miss Michelle. Hey, Lather. Come on. Oh.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michelle Hankin, and as Master Chief said, I am an American Red Cross caseworker. I know you all are about ready to go, and I apologize. We're trying not to keep you too long. I want to speak on the baby messages. For those of you that think that AMCROS messages are bad news, it's not always bad news. We can send that Red Cross message for that new baby. So I want you to know that you can call us. We'll get the information to the command, and they'll get a phone call home if they're able to. Now, a little about myself. I'm a 25-year Navy wife. I'm a Navy mom. I'm a grandmother. And so what does that mean to each of you? Probably nothing. But what that means is I'm also that Navy wife that has a teenage daughter at home that may be sick or injured, that needs to have her sailor home. I may be that mom that's sick and is in the hospital and needs to have her son home. So I'm going to be that mom that's going to be talking to you. I'm also that grandma that, quite frankly, may have passed away. Nobody likes bad news. The unfortunate part is it happens. It happens on deployments every day. What happens to you? What do you need to do, families? You need to call the American Red Cross. And our phone number up there is 877-272-7337. We are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There is somebody there to answer that phone. Sailors, I beg you, please be sure that your families are ready. Be proactive, not reactive to the emergency. My team over here, and tonight I'd like to tell you that I'm welcoming our brand new Board of Directors President and our brand new American Red Cross CEO here at their very first opportunity to come and see us. Stop by and see our team and pick up this flyer. This flyer has everything in it. Sailors, make sure that your families know where you are. Sure, you're on this ship. Sure, you're deployed. How many John Smiths are there in the United States Navy? There may be a lot. There may be more than one on this ship. We get phone calls every day from families that say, my service member's in Afghanistan, he's in the Army, and his name is Tom Jones. Can you find him? Sailors, tell your families this information. Leave this information with your families here and send it to someone overseas, or excuse me, over the horizon, someone that's not here. Because like I said, it may be that grandma, it may be that mother that is ill. A couple of things that people don't think about is they don't think it'll happen to them. You're the first phone call I get. I want everybody to keep in mind that not every emergency qualifies for a Red Cross message. That's when we get to work with the chaplain's office and say, hey, maybe this is another direction you can go. We'll send you to your ombudsman and put you in touch with them, and they may be able to get the information to the ship. How many have family that live outside of the country of the United States? Some countries do not have a cooperating agreement with the American Red Cross. That does not mean that we can't help you. What that means is there's some very specific information that we need from you. We have information at our table about that. Not every Red Cross message that goes out means your sailor is going to come home. We understand that the emergency is just that. It's an emergency. But let's be real. Is an emergency of getting your wisdom teeth really, and getting them pulled, is it really an emergency? I've had that call. My son fell off his skateboard and cracked his head open. Okay, we understand that's an emergency. I don't know where my husband is. He's on a ship. He's somewhere out at sea. Okay, is everybody okay? Is everybody safe? Is anybody harmed? Is he hospitalized? We're going to go through those questions. We're going to walk you all the way through and calm those waters of how to get a Red Cross message. But sailors, make sure your families know. A couple of other things. Make sure that you pick up families this disaster preparedness for Prepare San Diego. Fires are prevalent here in San Diego. Earthquakes happen. Please make sure your family's prepared. You have a disaster kit. In that regard, you'll see my team. We're all wearing blue vests. Please stop by and register to win. We're going to give away a 4-pack of family for 4 disaster kit. It's a 3-day supply of disaster products for you and your family should an emergency happen. Does anybody have any questions about any of this? So I just want everybody to know that here in San Diego, just a couple of numbers just to keep really clear. Last year, just here in San Diego, we have 4 call centers. We have San Diego National Headquarters, we have Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Louisville, Kentucky, and Springfield, Massachusetts. But just in San Diego alone, we delivered 47,195 emergency messages to military families worldwide from our center. Our emergency communications center, there's about 30 caseworkers there, collectively 30 of us. We handled over 303,600 calls last year alone, just in San Diego. We understand that nobody wants to get a Red Cross message. Sometimes it happens. In closing, I want to thank every one of you for what you do. We can't do what we do without you doing what you do. As a Navy mom, thank you. Thank you for keeping my family safe. As a Navy wife, please keep doing what you're doing. And as a grandparent, please make sure that our future is secure. Thank you. Have a great deployment.
Thank you. Walk this way. Thank you, Michelle. I want you to put that number in your cell phones as well. American Red Cross. Come on, you can text faster than that. Come on. American Red Cross, 877-272-7337. Put it in your cell phones tonight. If something bad happens, which we hope won't happen, call that number. They'll help you, okay? You got it? 877-272-7337. So there's good stories to be told. And Dad or Mom always read the little ones the stories before they went to bed. They can still do so. He can still read you a book if you like. So Samantha is going to tell you about United Through Reading. Samantha?
Hey everybody, how are you doing tonight? I really want to first extend my thanks to each and every one of you. I'm a Navy spouse myself, been through a few deployments, so I know how tough this is. But I'm here to tell you about an opportunity that can help keep your family connected all through this deployment. And that's called United Through Reading. And this program is open to any one of you who are deploying who has a child under the age of 18 in your life. So that means they're your child, they're your stepchild, a younger sibling, a niece, a nephew, a godchild, even a grandchild. Anybody under the age of 18 in your life, we want you to read to them. So this is how it works. You're going to go to the chaplain's office and sign up to read a story. You're going to arrive there, and there's going to be a bookshelf, and you can pick a book that's age appropriate to the child that you're reading to. We want you to sit down, and you're going to be in this room by yourself, so we want you to get goofy. We want you to get comfy. We want you to read to your child like they're in the room with you. Once you're finished the recording, it takes about a half an hour, you're going to receive a DVD, which you can then pop into an envelope and send to that child. Super duper easy, makes a whole lot of sense, and makes a whole lot of difference in the lives of your child and of yourself. Why is this important? Well, your child is going to see your face, they're going to hear your voice. This is especially important for our parents that are deploying who haven't yet met the child that they're going to read to. So we hear all the time, oh yeah, I have a little one on the way, but he or she isn't going to be reading by the time I get home, so it's not really important that I read to them. You're wrong, absolutely wrong, because how often have we seen a ship come home, dad comes off the ship, grabs the little one that he's never met before, and the little one's screaming bloody murder because they don't know who this strange person is. Well, I can tell you that that's not the case if you've participated in United Through Reading. I've heard so many stories from moms who have tears in their eyes saying, he'd never met this baby before, but the child knew that man's face and knew his voice, so we were a family as soon as he walked off the ship. It's super important, so please, please, no excuses, you gotta participate. Another thing that's great about this program is it allows you to be a family for 30 minutes a day, even though you're thousands of miles away. Super important. It also eases, like I said, homecoming anxiety, not just in the little ones, but in the whole family. And it's also building in your kids, or the kids in your life, a love of reading, which is important at any age. We encourage you to do multiple recordings. There is no limit on how many recordings you can do. And we also encourage, if you have a child who you know loves a specific book, pack that book with you in your sea bag, and then when you've done that recording and you have the DVD, throw the book in that envelope and send it home. When it gets home to them, it's like Christmas morning. They see you on the screen and they have a tangible book in their hand to read. And that's it. Thank you so much. I really encourage you guys to participate.
Hello everyone, I'm Joanne from Navy Marine Corps Relief Society and truly appreciate the invitation to us to tell you about our services. And I'm especially happy to be here since the program I support day to day is our shipboard office program, and the USS Carl Vinson is one of 40 ships that have this program on board. And Senior Chief Danito Winfrey is the overall coordinator for that service. Next, please. Next. Originally called Navy Relief Society, and most people still think of us as Navy Relief, we are the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society today, but still the same organization that provides emergency financial services and other kinds of services to active duty members, their families, retirees, and their family. Next, please. Our purpose is to provide that emergency financial assistance, but our longer-term goal is to help everyone achieve financial self-sufficiency so that you will be able to take care of not only your bills, but also know what to save. Thank you. Next. The slide gives you a variety of areas of financial assistance. Most common are emergency travel needs, motor vehicle repairs, basic living expenses such as rent, mortgage, food, gas and electric bills, and many times pay problems as well. Next. You've heard many speakers give you planning tips for deployment. This slide is just to let you know if any of you will be leaving San Diego. Our services are still available. If you're near a Navy and Marine Corps base, there will be one of our offices. However, if you're near an Army base, Air Force base, these branches have their own relief agencies, but people from the Navy and Marine Corps can ask for financial assistance at one of these offices. Next, please. Again, you've heard this from other speakers.
The ID card, check it to see that it will be valid throughout the deployment. Whether you're single, married, with or without a family, we'd be glad to do a budget for you before you leave, help you to make a plan on paying your bills, and whatever else will help you. You heard the JAG officer talk about general powers of attorney. We accept general powers of attorney as a form of pre-authorization. We also have a special form, which means the service member gives us permission in advance to give financial assistance. If we don't see one of those documents, then we will send an email to the service member for his or her permission to provide assistance. Next. And these are a few additional tips, again, which have been brought up by the earlier speakers. Next, please. This slide gives you a listing of other services that we provide. And most importantly is our Budget for Baby classes with associated Baby's First Sea Bag. We have thrift shops in several locations of San Diego County, and these are available for anyone who has an ID card. It's a good place for uniform items, civilian clothing, and small household goods.
Just the top.
Next, please.
Just the top card. I'll switch this one for the second card.
Navy Relief started with a small group of volunteers. Today, there are over 3,800 volunteers, both ship and shore. We constantly invite people to volunteer. The setting can be in the office, in the thrift shop, or if you're talented with knitting or crocheting, you can make items for our layette. We supply you the yarn. And in return, you get satisfaction with helping people in the Navy and Marine Corps family. We also reimburse for childcare and mileage and provide training as needed. Other opportunities even include at Naval Medical Center, where we have a unique hospital visitors program. And another volunteer effort is coming to pre-deployment events. Daisy Reyes has come with me this evening. She's a volunteer and has been offering information to people who come by the table. Next, please. Our locations are here at Naval Base San Diego, Naval Base Coronado, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Miramar, and up the coast at Camp Pendleton and Santa Onofre. The American Red Cross acts as our agent in providing emergency financial assistance when our offices are closed, or if you happen to be more than 50 miles away from any military base. Next. So thank you very much for your attention. Again, the invitation. Thank you for your service. I hope you have a safe deployment. And for everyone, please remember, we're here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And our final, we gotta do it right. If you don't, you get in trouble, right? So we're gonna talk a little OPSEC first. So our special agent, Agent 007 Porterfield, it's all yours.
Hi, good evening. My name is Special Agent Hannah Porterfield. I am the NCIS agent assigned to the Carl Vinson. I've been here for just about 2 years, so I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about operational security and how that can affect your family, your service member, and how to protect the sensitive information that is associated with the Carl Vinson. Next slide. So you may ask yourself, what is OPSEC? OPSEC is critical information that is unclassified that our adversaries are trying to obtain. So it's important for us to keep that information close hold, so adversaries cannot capitalize on that sort of information that we could be inadvertently putting out for public consumption. Next slide. So what is critical information? That could be photos of you and your service member, passwords that may be associated with your Facebook, other social media accounts, banking accounts, specific mission capabilities of the ship or aircraft that are associated with the Carl Vinson. Obviously, deployment schedules, port visits, specific timing about those sorts of port visits is also information that our adversaries could be trying to obtain. Next slide. So everybody here has a Facebook account, right? I have a Facebook account. I love Facebook, and I know that a lot of you do as well. So it's very critical that we keep certain specific information off of Facebook. When we're on Facebook, we need to be careful about what our security settings are. If you don't know all of the options with security settings, I highly recommend that you go on your Facebook account, your Instagram account, and look at those security settings. There's an option on Facebook where you can use an HTTPS account, web address where your profile is a little bit more secure than if it's just regular open browsing. I would encourage you to make sure that your passwords to Facebook accounts, your banking accounts, that sort of thing, are strong and they're not just your date of birth or your child's name or your spouse's name. Next slide. So a quick self-check for yourself. You may want to go home tonight or sometime this week and kind of look at what you're putting out to the world with a critical eye. So are you posting a lot about what you or your spouse does for the military? Is your full date of birth available for consumption by other people? Is your home address out on the internet? All of those things can put yourself in a vulnerable position. Next slide. So again, what can you do? I would don't discuss the deployment schedule, specific dates, that sort of thing, with people who don't have a need to know. When you have anything that may have personal information on it, shred those documents. That could be bank statements, insurance information, that sort of thing. And if you see another spouse or a friend of yours who may be opening themselves up to being vulnerable for this sort of information being put out to the world, I would encourage you to be a good friend and gently point that out to them. Just say to them, you know, have you thought about this? I would suggest that you maybe take that picture down or take that information that you're putting out down just to protect your family and the Department of the Navy. Next slide. So this is my contact information. I work here on the ship full time. So if there are any questions, please let me know. I will be over off to the side over here if you have any questions about this or anything else that's related to NCIS. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Agent Porterfield. Hey folks, I've never had gray icing. Nevertheless, there's plenty of cake left. It's over there, okay? I'm gonna go back to having some cake. Let me introduce you to the Big XO. Damn, now everybody will know where I was.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name's Captain Walt Slaughter. I'm the executive officer on board. Again, thanks to all the Carl Vinson sailors, and especially the family members that came out tonight. Great turnout, a lot better than we expected. So great to see everybody out there. I hope the information that you got was valuable, and you can put it to some good use as we get ready to head west. How about one more thanks for all our presenters, the Ombudsman, the FRG, Fleet Family Support, Navy Legal Service, TRICARE, Chaplains, Red Cross, United for Reading, Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, and NCIS. So thanks again to everybody. The tables will be open for a while, so please do not leave here with a question unanswered, or at least the right direction to go get it answered, okay? Appreciate that. Last thing, Obviously, an event like this can't be pulled off without a lot of help from the ship. So a special shout out to the legal department, especially our discipline officer, Lieutenant Napier, who was the point man and set this event up, with the assistance of the supply department, who set this great venue up and put on the great food, air department for letting us use their hangar, navigation, weapons department, security, and our MWR department. So how about a round of applause for all those folks, as well as all the duty section folks over the last couple days that helped us put this together. So it's a team effort, and I appreciate all that went into this fantastic event. With that, that concludes the formal portion of tonight's presentations. Again, the booths will be open for a little bit. Sailors, feel free to show your families around the ship. I will warn you, when you get outside the fancy blue curtains, it's a bit of an industrial zone. We got a lot of work going on, so please just be careful as you move about the ship. But feel free to show your families around while they're here, and enjoy the rest of the night. Have a good one. Thanks.